All right, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this highly anticipated panel session, Empower Entrepreneurs to Unlock Their Full Potential, as part of the 12th Denver Startup Week. Thank you to our title sponsors. We got to make sure that we acknowledge our sponsors because that's who's made this possible. So I'll put them up here on our screen. Amazon, Capital One Cafe, Dell for Startups, and the Downtown Denver Partnership. Also, as I mentioned, thank you to our generous host, Al Polsinelli. I'm going to get some house rules out of the way to begin with. So by attending this session, you're agreeing to follow our Code of Conduct, or Denver Startup Week Code of Conduct, as well as being photographed and recorded on video. Also, be sure to share your experience on social media using the hashtags that we have here. We'd love to get your support with social media. Now, let's delve into the heart of today's session. My name is Jessica Acosta, and I have the privilege of being your presenter and moderator for this session. As an entrepreneur and the founder of EDFest 2120, an innovation tech hub here in the heart of Denver. Also, as a passionate and advocate for entrepreneurship and innovation, I understand firsthand the challenges and opportunities that startups face. That's why I created this session. I believe in the transformative power of collaboration, mentorship, and I'm excited to help entrepreneurs on the path to success. In the world of entrepreneurship, each step can be a pivotal one, and the journey is often as important as the destination. Today, I am joined by a diverse and remarkable group of experienced investors, leaders, lenders, and ecosystem partners who share a deep commitment to supporting and empowering entrepreneurs. Together, we aim to provide you with insights, strategies, and guidance that will help you unlock your full potential. Now, let's embark on the journey together, one that will promise to be engaging, enlightening, and transformative. Before we dive into the discussion, I want to take a moment to thank James Perez Foster, who is here in the room, and who, yes, he has been instrumental in helping me mastermind the session and very generous with his time and providing access to his network so that we could have this impressive group of experts here today. Now, let's introduce the distinguished panelists that we have here. Each bring a wealth of knowledge and experience as well as unique perspectives. I'm going to start here from left to right. And here first we have Sergio Gutierrez. He's an executive director at JP Morgan. Then we have Vanessa Huerta, G-Beta managing director at G Generator. Graham Foreman, advocate, capital managing director and founder. We have Marie Peters, fund director at B-Side Fund and B-Side Capital. Ethan Austin, outside VC funding partner and fintech investor. Grace Oliva, partner at Colorado Impact Fund. Dan Greiner, director of Smart Future Lab, Design, Innovation, and Strategies at the University of Colorado, Denver. And then last but not, we have two more, sorry. Then we have Rama Harris. She's the Advanced Industry Senior Manager at the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade. Last but not least, we have Jason Romero, Business Development Director at Innovest Portfolio Solutions. So as you can see, it's a very diverse panel, but it's a wealth of knowledge. So thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Now let's set the stage by understanding why this session is so crucial in today's entrepreneurial landscape. In these critical economic times, we've witnessed both resilience and challenges. Despite the economic uncertainty, we've seen a strong labor market, tech sector growth, and innovation in the face of the climate change. However, notably, there's a slowdown in venture capital, startup investments, and other impactful changes coming down the pike. Startups and rapid scale companies must now seek alternative resources and support. This is a great segue. So we'll start with the question for our experts in this area. If some of you can jump in on this and give us your outlook for the market. Tell us if you feel optimistic or not optimistic. Will this affect, help, or hurt entrepreneurs in the coming market environment? We can start with Jason over there.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Okay, great. Thank you all for being here. Love entrepreneurs. You guys are the backbone of our economy. I once heard a phrase that you could either find a job or create a job, and you guys are job creators. For those that are out there, thank you so much for your contribution to this great city and our future workforce. I think that the outlook for the market is we're currently sitting around 4,500 for the S&P. If you think about the beginning of 2022, we were about 4,700. So it's been, 22 was quite the year. We've rebounded somewhat this year. We are fairly optimistic about the outlook ahead. I think we'll probably be finished this year somewhere around where we started 2022. The outlook for 24 looks and remains positive. And then I think we're going to be on a full-on recovery from that point. The point being is the more successful investors are, the more successful capital providers are. That includes venture capital, that includes private capital, and alternative sources of investments. We definitely have headwinds, which I can get into, but I won't. But just keep in mind interest rates. That drives a lot of investment in companies, capital expenditures in their own companies. We got an election coming up, so and inflation. Inflation is still out there, which we all experience on a regular basis. But just keep in mind that the market generally goes up 70 to 75% of the time. So, and we feel confident about the years coming forward.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to chime in terms of the economic outlook?
Sure, I can. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. So from the state level, we've seen, I guess impression is that we are optimistic. We, of course, because of the increased interest rates, did see a decrease between 2021 to 2022 in the amount or the amount of funding that was invested. There was an overall national decrease of 35%, but in Colorado it was 17%. So at least in Colorado, we're doing a little better than national average. Also, something to note is that between 2021 and 2022, although the amount of funding may have decreased, we actually saw an increased number of investments. So there's still a healthy appetite. It just may be that the amount of funding is less. So would definitely still encourage you all to consider, pitching your companies and your technologies and not let some of the outlooks you see or the numbers you see in the news necessarily discourage you.
Thank you. As you can see, we are facing some specific challenges in the market, and that's why it's important to look at the various resources when it comes to funding, as well as to growing our companies. Now I'm going to be naming them in groups to dive right into the questions and start getting some of their knowledge. I'll start with the group of three. Graham, you as the founder and managing director of Advocate Capital, you have a unique perspective of investing in education technology with the focus of social impact. Ethan, your experience spans both the world of venture capital with the focus on financial inclusion and sustainability, and the acceleration of startup through programs like TechStart. And Grace, your role at the Colorado Impact Fund involves supporting startups that drive social and environmental impact. You all look at hundreds of deals to potentially invest. Entrepreneurs often face the challenges of balancing short-term with the long-term vision. However, this last one is crucial. Can you please share your perspective on the importance of having a clear long-term strategy when seeking investment and how it impacts the decision-making process? Let's start with these three.
Yeah, I can start. So I would say that is this better? Yeah. Okay. And so in terms of sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, can you share your perspective on the importance of the having a clear long-term strategy when it comes to seeking the investment?
Yeah, I'd say that that's incredibly important for an investor because that's what we look at in order to determine whether or not your business can go through our underwriting process. So for us, we typically like to underwrite to a 3 to 5x our investment. So if we put in $1 million of capital into your company, we expect to get a 3 to 5x on that. So 3 to 5 million back. The only way that we can determine the risk and the potential for that is to really understand what your long-term vision for your company is, and at what point we could potentially exit for us to get a return on our capital. So I would say it's without a long-term vision, an investor cannot make the assessment they need around the risk-reward profile of your investment opportunity.
Thank you.
I can jump in. Can everybody hear me? I tend to be pretty loud, so. Yeah, just to add to what Grace said, 7 to 10 years. If you work with an institutional venture capitalist, that's what you should expect. And people joke about it, but it's sometimes easier to break up with your spouse than it is to break up with your venture capitalist. So I would encourage you to do your diligence on that. You have to have a big vision as well. So we're going to wonder, how are you going to get to a $100 million company in 7 to 10 years in a $1 billion plus market? And you have to have a pretty compelling argument for that. That being said, I read this morning that about 80 to 85% of successful businesses are bootstrapped. So you certainly don't have to raise venture. In fact, I'll give you one other perspective on the market, which is there are a lot of venture capitalists now that are looking for bootstrapped companies because those bootstrap companies are efficient with their capital from the get-go. They have that efficiency in their DNA. So if you start out bootstrapping, you start out getting customers to pay for you. You might end up getting in a relationship with a venture capitalist, or you might not need that relationship at all, and you can just keep building your business without that relationship.
I think, maybe I'll just talk as well. I think, if you go the venture capital route, every venture capitalist is going to look at three things. They're going to look at, are you solving a real problem? Do you have a big vision? And are you the right team to do it? And I think that second thing on the vision matters, but you have to understand who you're talking to. If you're talking to a Series A, firm that's underwriting to billion-dollar exits, you have to have a huge vision, right? And even then, Uber was just, they were not everything when they pitched their original thing. And, if you've ever seen the original pitch deck of Uber, it was like this one thing. Like, visions expand. If you're talking to a really small firm for angels, right, and the valuation is like maybe $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, they're not necessarily underwriting to billion-dollar exits. And so you could have a company, you can't hear me. You could have a company that, exits for $100 million, $200 million that is still largely a single product or two products. That's not this grand vision of the future. So I think it really matters when you're talking to your funding sources, who are you talking to, and what is their exit, and what matters to them. So I think that's kind of more important or a little nuanced to think about that.
Thank you. And sticking with this group and along the same lines, what strategic insights can you offer to entrepreneurs so they can effectively align their business goals with impactful outcomes? I think they're equally important when seeking funding. So can you guys share your insights?
So I was an impact entrepreneur, and I never thought of myself as like impact. We used a KPI early on in our when we were bootstrapped. It was hugs, and hugs were simply when we got emails or messages or from people that says like, I don't know what we would have done without this site, or you saved my brother's life. Like, what would we have done? Like, thank you, and like that wasn't quantifiable. And I think I would say if anyone's trying to blend the two together, it's easier if you're starting something fresh than taking something that does X and trying to tack on some impact to it, of starting something that's implicitly impactful, because I think that melding the two are hard. If you've already started a business, I don't have great advice for you. But if you haven't started a business yet and that's something important to you, think of something where the impact is inherently in the model.
Yeah, for us as an impact fund, we think about it as two different screens. So we first look at it, does this company meet our impact screen? And for us, we have a pretty broad definition of impact around who, what, where, and how. On the who side, that's really all about the entrepreneur, and are we supporting BIPOC founders who are underserved in some way, whether they be in rural Colorado or an immigrant. The where is all about Colorado, and specifically investing outside of the Front Range, so investing in places like Pueblo, like Grand Junction, where venture capital is not as accessible. The what is all about the product or service. Does a product or service address a societal or market rate challenge we have? And then the how is really all around ESG practices, so how a company conducts itself in the community, how it treats its employees. That's the first sort of screen for us, and if a company meets that, we then look at a second screen, which is separate, which is this an investable, venture-backable company? And so we take it as a sort of a two-step process. And I would also say that we also help our companies to become more impactful. So we've got these 4 different ways of looking at it. One company might be really focused on the what, but we can bring some best practices around the who, and in terms of who you hire, and also on the how you run your business. So we also bring some best practices to share across the portfolio to expand impact as well.
Thank you.
Just to add to those great comments. So I'm an impact investor in startups that primarily serve K-12 schools and districts. So what that means to me as I talk to entrepreneurs is, are you delivering outcomes for students? Are you helping teachers be more efficient and effective at their jobs? Same with school administrators. And as an early stage investor, I don't expect you to have done a series of randomized control trials from day one with off-the-charts efficacy. But I do look, and I do think companies can begin to build evidence and research into their work from the get-go, from day one. So I look for founders that focus on that, and I look for founder market fit as well. That's a big qualification. Usually folks who come from the industry, have experienced the problem, have lived it, often are insightful when it comes to solving that problem. So I think having that efficacy, that research as a base from day one is a big advantage for an impact investor.
Thank you. Now I'm going to call another group of experts. We've heard from the focus of investment. Now let's take a look at a different perspective. Marie, you work in managing direct lending programs for under-resourced small businesses, including microloans. I'm sorry, this is for Marie. Yes, not Vanessa. Marie, including the microloans. And also, Sergio, your career has encompassed advising a wide range of clients, including entrepreneurs, athletes, and high net worth families. As well as Jason over there, with your background spanning both in the banking and wealth management, you've had the privilege of understanding what truly matters to your affluent clients, families, and organizations. These next questions will be for you guys. what are some of the key financial principles that have consistently proven valuable and that entrepreneurs should keep in mind when seeking both traditional and non-traditional funding?
Happy, happy to go. So, great question. I think there are a couple of things I would mention. One is market product fit before ramping up expenses. One of the things that many entrepreneurs, and I was an entrepreneur before I got into the financial services side of things, so ton of kudos to you. Like Jason said, you are the engine of the economy, so so proud to count myself as one of you as well. But market product fix before ramping up expenses, because sometimes we have an idea and we go to market and we land. I think just talk louder into the microphone. Okay. Thank you. So we go to market with an idea and we have a little bit of success, but we haven't really established how we're going to ramp that with a specific process. So our burn profile is really important. And when I talk to my clients who are investors in early stage companies, often what they like to see is, does this entrepreneur know how to manage their cash? Do they understand the longevity of what their capital looks like? Because once you can tie input to an outcome on new sales, new market territory, et cetera, that's really powerful because you then understand the engine and your burn profile a lot better.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I can add to that as well. When you're working with a bank or a lending institution, whether they be a mission-based nonprofit or a credit union, they're going to be looking at cash flow as well. They want to make sure that a business is earning their revenue, but they also have expenses that they can cover. Because when you, at the end of the day, whatever your profit margin is, that's what's going to be able to repay whatever dollars that you borrow from a lender. And so really paying a close attention to that cash flow is really important. The other piece is projections, right? What is your plan for the future? Are you going to be adding products and services to your business that's going to bring in new customers? What are your customers going to be paying for those products and services? And how are you going to grow? So understanding what those projections, the roadmap that you're on and where you're going is going to be really helpful when you're talking with both lenders and investors because they want to understand what your plan is and that you've thought through all of those steps and assumptions to get there. Because the thing is, with projections, you're not gonna hit them exactly. You're gonna go above them or below them. But going through the exercise of understanding what you want to do is gonna be really, really important.
How about you, Jason, from your days in lending and banking?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that what banks generally look at, whether it be SBA or more traditional financing, is they want to see that you have experience in the industry, that you are building like a business in, that you have managed people before, that you've owned a company before. They want to make sure that you're financially invested in your concept, right? So those are some of the foundational things that traditional lenders are going to probably take a look at. The business plan is extremely important. If you can't put it on paper and you can't verbally articulate it, that doesn't demonstrate a lot of confidence to a lender. I would say what I encourage many of my clients over the years is to build out an advisory team, lean on them, they're your coaches, talk to your CPAs, talk to your attorneys, talk to your financial advisors, talk to business brokers, talk to a lot of folks you can get to really kind of help support you as you're building out this infrastructure for a startup company seeking financing. They can be great advisors for you. It used to be a time where those were unavailable to a small business owner or a startup. But the reality is that the market has evolved so much that there's so many more players involved, whether it be the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce in providing business consultation, business bankers, micro funders, accelerators, all of those folks. Use all of those folks in an effort to really build the great foundation before seeking financing. Last but not least, make sure you understand your sources of capital. That's changed. I think we saw in 2008, a lot of the public thought banks were the only source of capital. They're not. There's private equity, there's wealthy families. There's a lot of different folks that are looking to get invested and put their money in non-traditional sources. So understanding all that's available is something I strongly recommend.
Thank you. Also, we talked about the current economic climate. In speaking of seeking traditional lending, what's some advice that you have for entrepreneurs to establish a strong financial foundation?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things that funders or investors look at in general, or specifically for a foundation, is not only having the capital up front to invest in your company, but if you start a company and you're successful and revenues are exceeding revenues, are the owners taking the company out, or are they reinvesting in their company? Are they retaining it? Are they buying new equipment, new technology, hiring people? Are they investing in their own company? If they're not doing that, an investor or a lender is not going to be very much inclined. So also just keeping in mind that always to protect your assets as well, your business assets, right? If you have IP or if you have goodwill or anything like that, a brand or what have you, make sure that you're always protecting that. Again, coming back to the fact that build a team of advisors, and they're going to be there. They're on your team to help you be successful and build that foundation.
Thank you. Marie, you want to share?
The only other thing I want to emphasize is have a good relationship with your banker, right? That's going to be the first call that you want to make when you want to grow your company. And if they're unable to help, they can be a good point of contact. But again, building out your team and understanding all the various sources and educating yourself on what those options are, that's what's going to give you, options down the road to decide what's best and what aligns with your company at that time. And it changes. Sometimes equity makes the best fit during the growth phase, and debt might make more sense if you have a longer term vision and are purchasing a building. And so you can use those in tandem to achieve your goals.
How about you, Sergio?
I would just add one other thing is get comfortable with understanding your financial statements. Many of us didn't come from an accounting background or what have you, but it's critical to understand what the financial statements are telling you. Get good advice, surround yourselves with financial experts that can help you through that process, because when you have traditional or non-traditional capital sources, they want to know that you understand your numbers. What levers, if they add more capital, what is that fuel going to do? How is that going to translate into your balance sheet and into your income statement? So definitely get comfortable with your financial statements, how to read them, how to explain them, and how to understand what additional revenue or other sources of capital or debt might do to those statements and your long-term viability.
Thank you. Now let's look at a different perspective. I'm going to call our next group. We'll start here with Vanessa. You run an accelerator and work closely with startup founders with unique challenges. Dan, you in your role as someone who has successfully navigated the entrepreneurial journey multiple times, and now you lead the incubator and accelerator focused on smart city tech businesses. You offer a unique point of view, and Rama, in your role supporting innovators and entrepreneurs through the Advanced Industry Accelerator Program, you've likely have witnessed a wide variety of challenges and successes in your different roles. This question is for you guys. How do you see the role of ecosystem partners evolving? Can you please talk about how entrepreneurs can leverage government resources? It was mentioned just earlier by Jason, but maybe a little further in depth. Also, how to leverage accelerator programs like G-Beta and the Smart Futures Lab. How do they play a role to support their business and accelerate their growth?
I can start. Oh, where you going? Okay, so this is, for me at least, very timely because I just came from a summit, a meeting with a lot of people that's involved with accelerators in the country, venture studios. And I would say for you guys, the resources are there. So look for them. Really try to find all of these ecosystem builders in your space. I mean, you're in the right place right now. It looks like you're doing the homework. but really go and look for these people like us that we are helping the ecosystem and that we're willing to give you office hours to guide you in the right direction and apply for accelerator programs, venture studios, or any other model that can help you grow your business. So that's where I will start with this question. Look for the resources.
Thank you. How about you? Yeah, Rama, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess first to touch on the ecosystem of collaboration we have in Colorado, I think we're really fortunate that we've really cultivated that collaboration already. And, something we hear a lot from companies that have relocated here or expanding here is how surprised they are by the level of just helpfulness that people have, even their competition in being willing to, introduce them to their network or people that would be helpful in scaling their business. So we definitely are fortunate here in Colorado to have a strong network of, state partners, local economic development organizations, VC firms, accelerator programs, research institutions, as well as many other really great stakeholders to work with. For my program, the Advanced Industries Accelerator Program, this is, we provide non-dilutive grant funding for a number of different stages, from the proof of concept to early stage, scalability, as well as a tax credit to incentivize investors to invest in your companies, and then all the way to supporting your company to expand globally. So I think as much as we like to think that our programs are well known across the state, there are still pockets of people that don't know. And it's probably a good likelihood that there's a good handful of you that don't know that program here today. So definitely do your research and look to not just the more traditional routes, but look to see what potentially the state has to offer or your local economic development organizations have in terms of incentives and other opportunities and resources like that.
Dan?
I would first of all say thank you to Rama and your team. I'm working with 2 projects right now that have both benefited from that, and I can attest to that fact that there are resources out there from the government side. Also, incubators like ours we're vested in helping you guys succeed, right? Our success is based on your success. So we're going to be cultivating networks of networks in order to figure out how to get you to the right people, get you in front of the right audience, hopefully give you some mentorship along the way that helps you to see success. I think in this space there's more opportunity than ever, and it can get lost in the noise. What was dirt roads is paved, and what's paved is superhighways. So when you're looking at that, it's important to think of where you need to go, who you need to connect with, and trying to access resources and people who want to see you succeed. Because that is really, like I said, our success is yours. So look for us, reference us, and make sure that your incubators or accelerators or whatever groups that you're connected to are supporting you in that way. Some take money, some don't. So think, shop around, look for the ones that are going to fit your need.
Thank you. In upcoming, we're going to have 3 businesses that are going to do their own pitch. So you'll get to see that here live in the session, and also as well as hearing the feedback that they will receive from our experts. But before we jump into that, briefly, this same group, let's see what type of advice, no pressure for the presenters, but would you offer to entrepreneurs to achieve a balance between risk mitigation and sustainable growth?
Just speaking on what we see sometimes from the early stage companies that come through our program, make sure that you have your technology or product is solving a problem and not a solution looking for a problem to solve. That's really important for when you're explaining what your technology is for and the impact of it is, well, what is it solving? That you, of course, have the right team to take it forward. If we definitely understand if you're really early that you may not have the financial standing to be able to hire a full stack team, but lean on if you are able to get some advisors to supplement some of that expertise or work with contractors in the intermediary. Make sure that you are being comprehensive in understanding your funding options and solutions. So we talked about bootstrapping, identifying, private investment, state resources, federal grants. There's a whole host of opportunities or accelerator programs that often provide funding at the end of their programs. Also, that you have, done your due diligence in the market research. So you've identified what the market opportunity is, what your share of that market is, what your competition is, and how you stack up against them. My colleague here mentioned that you have IP surrounding your technology. That's really important. Certain industries, it doesn't make sense to have patents, but you need to have some type of defensibility for your product to be able to succeed in the market. So, and also last thing would just be make sure you understand who you're pitching to. So when it comes to, for example, the state, it's going to look very similar, but a little different than if you're pitching to a VC. So our goal is that we want to see you be retained and grown, it's not grown, but growing in Colorado, whereas they want to see the ultimate exit. So just make sure that you do your research in that regard as well.
Thank you. Dan, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
So I think it's a combination of what we've been hearing throughout all of the panel. Know your numbers, super important. What Rama just said, what a generator we work with our founders throughout the 7-week or 12-week program, depending, because we have 2 different product lines. It's KPIs and setting those goals and really working towards those goals. As founders, it's very easy to get lost in the operations and forget about that big picture, that vision, and setting strategic goals, making sure that you're following them, that you're on track to get to your end goal, whatever that is. So setting your goals, following them, tracking them, I think that's something that is super important, that sometimes it's hard as an entrepreneur when you're wearing so many hats during the day to notice where you're going.
Anything else you'd like to add, Dan, before we jump into the pitches?
I'll keep it brief.
Thank
Promise.
you. Thanks.
So I would plus one both of what both of you said, but I think one of the problems I see over and over, the more you're trying to or needing to sell in the room, where you're really trying to convince your customer or whoever that is you're pitching to, there's something missing in your process. Maybe you haven't understood your customer enough. Maybe you haven't understood your problem enough. Maybe you're just communicating improperly or misjudging who you're speaking to. But those things, knowing those things inherently and being able to speak to it fluently without needing to be prepped, without needing to do those things, those are only going to help you in communicating your idea. You're going to fall again and again victim to having to sell in these situations if you don't know your business well enough. If you haven't figured out all the ins and outs of that customer journey, that validation that needs to happen in that process, and make sure your value prop is right up there on top for everyone to see.
Thank you. And now let's jump right into our pitches. We have 3 companies here, as I mentioned, that are going to pitch, and we'll get to hear more about our experts when they give their feedback. And they'll do the hard labor for you guys today, and pitch in front of everybody to receive that feedback. So first up, we have Team Walders with CrowdSolve. In the interest of time, each presenter will have 3 minutes to present. And so when he's ready, I will start the timer because we want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to run through their pitch and receive the feedback. So Tim, let me know when you're ready, and I'll start the timer. No pressure.
Hey, I want to thank you for having me on, and love this panel. Let's give it up for this panel. Come on. What an amazing group, and I hope I can be up here on the panel next year. So we are CrowdSolve, and we are an at-scale pre-accelerator for climate tech startups. I started CrowdSolve a little over 2 years ago, and I was in a conversation with my son about climate change. And he turns to me and says, "Dad, I don't think I'm going to live to be as old as you are today because of climate change." And as an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, I've started multiple companies. I thought to myself, we need more entrepreneurs. We need more shots on goal. So if you go out and look at the stats, there's about 500,000 startups that apply for accelerators each year. And only 2% of them get in. So that leaves 490,000 entrepreneurs unsupported. The accelerators are overwhelmed, and the entrepreneurs are fatigued and frustrated. So what we've put together, we've gone upstream from where Y Combinator and Techstars went 15 years ago. There's so much supply and there's so much opportunity. And then we pre-accelerate those climate tech companies, and we help find them capital downstream and help get them into accelerators. So we have an automated platform. We use some generative AI to assist people going through. It's free at the top layer. And then we have a premium layer that we give opportunity and give discounts into that. And we charge the innovators for that. And we also have boot camps, et cetera. So we have a great team in behind this. I've started 3 companies before. I have 2 patents in machine learning. I've exited each one of those, raised about $30 million in venture capital. My co-founder, Leah Bose, was the EVP of customer success at PaySimple and helped take them from $1 million in revenue to $100 million in revenue. We also have an outstanding team beyond that, 7 people. We have one of our advisors is the chief strategy officer for Kickstarter, so we've got some great ends there. And we have about 40 accelerators that are partners. I noticed Vanessa, you're here. I've had many conversations with Ryan, and we've traded people back and forth with Generator. So we've raised about $500,000 in investment to date. We have over 125 innovators on the platform, 90 mentors, and 40 partners. Now, everybody here's the news. Maui, hurricanes, et cetera. You can't avoid the fact that climate change is here. Our goal is to help 500,000 climate startups over the next 10 years get some traction. Imagine what a difference that will make. We're raising $1 million right now to extend that runway out 18 months. That helps us scale up the top of the funnel with more marketing and help support all those innovators. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to go right into the next pitch just so that everybody has a chance to pitch, and then we'll leave the feedback to the end. So next up, we have, we have Gedalia Montoya with Double Security. Coming up.
I'm going to try to ditch the mic because they're kind of, I think, challenging. So just let me know if that doesn't work out. So like she said, I'm Gedalia Montoya Weinberg O'Brien. I'm founder and CEO of Dapple Security. We provide phishing-resistant login for businesses to prevent attacks before they start. I worked for the National Security Agency for nearly a decade, and I'm also experienced as an operator, having brought one former startup to exit. And my co-founder and I both have deep B2B security experience, and our third teammate is also a former NSAer. So after 20 years in the cybersecurity industry, we're noticing the same unsolved problem plaguing businesses again and again. And that problem is that hackers don't break in, they log in. 90% of data breaches start with a stolen login. And the first generation solutions that we have in place, like those one-time email codes you might get, they're not working. SMBs, small mid-sized businesses, are getting hit particularly hard. They often fall below the cybersecurity poverty line in that they don't have access to affordable and easy-to-adopt solutions. And hackers know this. They're starting to target SMBs more, and they're able to do so because AI is making those types of attacks a commodity. So hackers can generate these really convincing emails, text messages, even phone calls. And when these attacks happen, the average losses to an SMB are $3 million plus reputational harm, which unfortunately is often enough to put them out of business. So this is a life-threatening problem for SMBs. The solution is surprisingly simple to state. If you get rid of passwords, you get rid of phishing. So Dapple has a unique patent-pending approach to replacing passwords with a fingerprint, while still protecting privacy, because unlike any other biometric system out there, we don't store the biometric data. This finger is your new password. With our B2B software, users install an app on their phone or their computer, and every time they would have been prompted for a password, they're instead prompted to present their fingerprint. Dapple is easy and affordable to install for businesses of all sizes. We offer our software using a monthly per-user subscription model. Businesses spend thousands of dollars a year per employee on cybersecurity. So we're looking to tap into that $1.5 to $2 trillion global cybersecurity market. And our team and our IP give us a unique advantage in doing so. Since starting as a team full-time just in April this year, we have raised $500K in investments. We're supported by Techstars. We've gone from our IP being ideas on paper to filing a patent and proving it out in a lab of real biometric data. We started to build sales channel partnerships with managed service providers and cybersecurity, cyber insurance providers to support our direct sales. And we recently landed a pilot with a multi-state law firm. We're working closely with them to build out our MVP and prevent breaches before they start.
Perfect timing. That was excellent. Okay. And last but not least, we have Graham Winder with MeloQuest. He's going to hand out his executive summary to the panelists, and then let's get going. You let me know when you're ready. I'll start the timer.
Hello, hello. I tend to talk way too much, so I need my iPad to contain me here. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Graham Winder, founder of Keys and Kingdoms. We are a SaaS EdTech gaming company based out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Now, education is a powerful tool for change, and music education in particular has a surprising impact. Not only does it enhance overall intelligence, but it also fosters creativity and emotional connection, which can be a challenging aspect to develop in today's youth. Sadly, over 90% of elementary and middle school students abandon music learning before reaching high school, robbing them of all the cognitive, social, creative, and emotional benefits that music learning has to offer. Barriers such as uninspiring methods, poor accessibility, and limited funding for music programs only help to fuel this trend. At Keys and Kingdoms, we've developed the first adventure role-playing game that revolutionizes music learning. Our solution significantly boosts student engagement and greatly accelerates learning, enabling, on average, over 90% of students to play their first piano song within just 30 minutes of gameplay, regardless of prior musical experience. So how did we achieve this? Well, first, we employed a brand new proprietary music learning curriculum called Sight Reduction Method, or SRM. We also added an adaptive learning engine that moves at the developmental pace of the player, customizing the experience, which then leads to greater student outcomes. The U.S. EdTech market, and in particular K-12, is rapidly growing, presenting a tremendous opportunity. We've already begun selling annual enterprise licenses to schools and now have set up pilot programs in some of the largest districts in the nation, including Miami-Dade, Dallas ISD, and our very own Denver Public Schools here. Denver Public is looking to do a district-wide rollout of Keys and Kingdoms as soon as next semester, which would generate over $200,000 in ARR. To add more fuel to our early growth, we've partnered with Romeo Music, a leading provider of piano keyboards and piano labs to schools. Romeo is a certified vendor in over 1,300 school districts across the country. Our team, backed by extensive expertise, is fully dedicated to this vision. Our lead advisor, Brian Hodis, is the former CCO at Activision Blizzard and the key architect behind the hit game Guitar Hero, which I'm sure many of us in this room have played. Since our inception 3 years ago, we have raised $1.5 million and are currently raising a $500,000 convertible note at a $3 million cap, with $100,000 already secured. These funds will drive program development, expand our sales team, and fuel our early growth. Our mission is clear: to unlock the musical potential in everyone. Join us on this journey. to make a lasting mark on our world. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent timing. Now we will jump right into the feedback, and we'll start in the way that they presented. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so we only have about 9 minutes collectively of feedback. So please be mindful of the time that we have left. That's about 3 minutes per company. So let's jump right in. Let's start with CrowdSolve, the feedback for that. And I think we pre-selected some of the panelists. So Vanessa, Marie, Graham, and Jason. What's your feedback on that?
I can start. Amazing feedback. You did wonderful. It was just so refreshing to hear your pitch. I love that you did your research, so you even brought examples here. Loved your energy. I think you in 3 minutes really helped us to understand what you're doing, where you're at, and where you're going. So it's just great feedback on my end.
Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Yeah, maybe what I missed. Oh, I always have one thing. And maybe you did say it because I after listening the others was the ask, but and it's not about money or anything. Just like what would you like to get from us?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you prompting that. So we're raising another $1 million. We have $500,000 we've already raised. It's at a $6 million post money cap safe, and we are looking for entrepreneurs. We are looking for mentors. We are looking for partners in the ecosystem. So we're just trying to piece together all the important parts of the ecosystem and give more climate entrepreneurs a shot on goal. And that $1 million then takes us out 18 months and allows us to kind of grow the top end of the funnel, find more innovators, and be able to provide the support for them.
Anybody else from the group I mentioned? Marie, Graham,
yeah.
or Jason?
Excellent presentation. I thought you got well to the point. Really amazing that what you're trying to do is unlock other entrepreneurs, and I think that's really, really powerful when you talk and think about impact. One of my follow-up questions, which I don't know if it belongs in the pitch, but understanding how, with things moving so quickly, how are you going to continue to refresh that content to make sure that you're getting the right education and tools in front of those entrepreneurs? So really wonderful job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a longer answer, but we get feedback from the entrepreneurs if they see something that's better or whatever out there, and then also the partnerships with the various accelerators, or even kind of OEM some of the kind of learning modules in the accelerators that might be targeted, like with LabStart and NREL, towards certain types of innovations like deep tech, hard tech, et cetera. And I wanted to give a shout out to Rama here because we have applied for an OEdit grant. So we're trying to take advantage of all the aspects of the ecosystem and move this thing forward.
Thank you. Let's see how we're on time. We might have to jump to the next, company. So Dapple Security can, some of you that were assigned to this, which it was Grace, Dan, Ethan, and Sergio, provide some feedback on their presentation?
Sure. I thought it was a great presentation. You spoke, like, you're very comfortable speaking, and like the presentation was just like very, very smooth. You started off saying, I worked at the NSA, which is a great thing to say when you're like, I'm working in cybersecurity. You're like, okay, everyone's listening now. Which is like, honestly, you have like 10 seconds to get people interested, and you did right away. So nice job with that. The one question I'd ask, just like not on the pitch, but like on the business, I don't know if you have to answer it or not. But I think there's a lot of people who have tried and are trying probably. Passwords suck. Everyone agrees passwords suck. Passwords aren't the future. Everyone knows that. What does, and I think a lot of people who don't work in cybersecurity or aren't cybersecurity investors would want to know, like, what does the landscape in the future look like? Like, there's a billion people trying to do it. Like, does Google or Facebook or Apple, do they buy you? Do they own the whole landscape? Like, what ends up happening in the end, and like helping paint that picture for people who don't know, who understand like this is a real problem, but don't know what like the future holds for all of us and passwordless logins.
Yeah, just to give a quick answer on that, one of the reasons I think this is actually going to be successful now versus the last 15 years is there is a standards-based approach that the big tech is supporting.
Just to add on to that, yeah, I thought you did an excellent job of really presenting concisely the problem and also why you and your team are uniquely kind of equipped to really tackle the problem with the earned insights from, I think, your background. That was really excellent. And I think you also described, you have some IP, which I think is important as well. And I think the only piece of feedback would be just to talk a little bit more about the ultimate sort of vision, right? So you have your ask, but like what is it that we're being asked to sort of believe in kind of long term? But I think overall, really, really well done.
Thank you. Would you like to add something, or?
I'll add really
okay.
quick. Loved the presentation. Thought, again, confidence builder, the NSA, cybersecurity, easy connection there. Criminals are incredibly innovative. Thinking through how your system thinks ahead to you're dealing with the problem we have now. How are you future-proofing it? And obviously, I'm asking a way loaded question, but that's the part that constantly it's bugging me when I think about this.
Yeah, so a couple quick answers there. One is, I think there actually are plugging some holes that kind of haven't yet been uncovered in other passwordless solutions because it's such a new technology. So we're kind of already making a step or two ahead of that. But also, we're going to have to evolve over time too. Like, there's no way the solution that we see today is the one we're going to have in 5 years. People think that.
Thank you. Now, last but not least, MeloQuest. Let's hear the feedback for him, and we can hear from Ethan, Grace, Rama, Graham.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. Graham, thanks so much for your presentation. Lots of great things to point to. One is the tremendous experience in music education you've got, your founder experience as well. I was also struck, Graham and I had a conversation 4 years ago prior to the pandemic, and you persisted through COVID, so congratulations on that. Not everybody did, so congratulations on that. And you've also learned some things as well, focused on schools and districts. So if I had time to ask a question, which I may not, but I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. One of the other things I love too is gamification and the focus on engaging kids. That's what we're struggling with in education. Another thing we're struggling with is prioritizing music education in schools. We prioritize reading, we prioritize writing, we want to get kids to graduation. So I guess my big question would be, what is it going to take for schools and districts to bring more music education back in? And we all know the wonderful benefits of that. What's it going to take? And I'll just leave that. I don't know if we have time for an answer, but we'd love to visit with you after that.
Absolutely. I'll give you a short answer. So we're already starting to see music and the arts come back. I think what we started to see happen in maybe the last 5-10 years is that maybe the administration didn't think that music and arts were as important as maybe some of the STEM subject verticals. And now what we're seeing is that there's a real consequence when you remove arts and music from kids' lives, and now we see them as adults. There's a real consequence to that. So you're starting to already see a pendulum swing back towards music and arts. Here's a great example. California just passed Prop 28, which released $1 billion into the state school system specifically for music and arts programs. That kicks in this upcoming year. So we're already starting to see that pendulum shift back. I think educators are really seeing the value of what they're missing from music and arts.
Thank you, and I don't mean to cut you short, but we're really out of time. So if there are questions, we can keep it to when you visit afterwards. Let's hear one more piece of feedback, and please keep it short, and we'll be concluding with that.
I'll say one last thing is that investors like to see things that are different. So I'm looking at a fintech right now that's like a gaming fintech, and like they help people save through gaming mechanisms. And so I would, like you see so many of the same things. I'd lean into the weirdness of this because it's weird, right? It's just like this. You don't see many things like that. I was hoping you'd be nerdier and like not so clean cut and like I just imagine like a bunch of people LARPing and like playing the recorder and like so like I would lean into that because you see so many pitches that sound the same, and when you hear something different, sometimes different is better than better. And so like just leaning into like why this is weird and why it's wonderful, you're going to find like an awesome investor who's like, yeah, this is really cool.
Thank you, and thank you for presenting. I would be a client of all the businesses that presented today. I think they all did great. I want to express my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you for being part of this discussion. Your presence and your insights have enriched our conversation today and made this session truly exceptional. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you. As we conclude, I want to reflect on a couple of takeaways today. Empowerment, collaboration, mentorship, and perseverance are essential for this journey. Diverse perspectives, embracing the richness and diverse viewpoints as you navigate entrepreneurship, and connection. Your connections made here today are valuable resources, so make sure that you nurture them and follow up. Remember that your potential as entrepreneurs is boundless, and challenges are opportunities in disguise. Stay engaged, curious, and connected. Entrepreneurship thrives within a vibrant, interconnected community. If you like the session, I will actually like to invite you to our other session that we have coming up Thursday. The details are on the screen. Thank you once again to our sponsors. Let's transform ideas into reality, break barriers, and unlock your full potential. Here's to future-filled innovation, success, and empowerment.